Good morning, boys and girls. Happy March 31st. It is Tuesday, the last day of March. So tomorrow will be April 1st, or also April Fool's Day. Today we're going to read an AR story. This is a new book to our library. I'm excited to read it. It's not Halloween, but it'll be fun anyway. Bone Soup. There is the AR code on the back, and it is a 4th grade reading level of 4.0. So make sure that you select that somebody has read this story to you. Before I conclude the video, I'll ask you a couple questions just to get your brain in gear for the test. If you'd like to rewatch the video to further that comprehension, you're absolutely welcome to. So, without further ado, this is Bone Soup. One Halloween morning, 3 very hungry witches were looking for a tasty treat. They checked the cupboards only to find nothing there. "Bare," said Naggy Witch. "Empty," said Craggy Witch. "Only a small dry bone," said Scraggy Witch. "Only a bone." "Only a bone, you say? Piff poof! Let's make some bone soup, sisters," cackled Naggy Witch gleefully. Bone soup is the perfect Halloween treat. I don't know, bone soup. The 3 witches carried their cauldron and bone far away until they came to a door. The witches hadn't even begun to knock when the door groaned open. And there, the scariest looking monster they had ever seen towered before them. It made the witches shiver, but alas, they were very hungry. "Trick or treat, trick or treat. We've something unusually good to eat. It's bone soup, soup from a bone," said Naggy Witch. "Bone soup? Impossible. Go away. There will be time for your tricks later," boomed the monster. "Piff poof, it's no trick. A bit of water is all we need," promised Naggy Witch. "I'm hungry, Papa," said a little monster as she appeared at the door. "Can we make bone soup, please?" "None of your tricks," boomed the monster. "Piff poof, only a treat," Naggy Witch replied. And in minutes the bone and the water were bubbling inside the cauldron. Naggy Witch gave the cauldron a stir. She took a small taste. "Bewitching," she said. "If only we had something savory. That's all it needs. But where can we find it?" "Look, another door," said Craggy Witch. The 3 witches hadn't even begun to knock when the door opened with a hiss. And there, the spookiest ghost that they had ever seen floated before them. It made the witches tremble, but alas, they were very hungry. "Trick or treat, trick or treat. We've something unusually good to eat. It's bone soup, soup from a bone. A savory morsel is all we need." "Bone soup? Impossible. Go away. There will be time for your tricks later," called the ghost. "Piff poof, it's no trick, it's a treat," said Scraggy Witch. As the ghost was feeling a bit hungry, a most savory eye of a giant was soon bubbling in the cauldron. Ew. "Bedazzling," said Naggy Witch after a small taste. "If only we had something crunchy." And with that, the eeriest of ghouls brought forth a long, crackly lizard's tail. "Piff poof, into the cauldron it goes," cried Naggy Witch. An unusual scent began to waft through the air now. Doors creaked open. Windows squeaked wide, too. "Beguiling," said Naggy Witch, "but I wonder, can a tasty tidbit or two be found?" Juice of a toad, earthworms, dried dragon wings, drooled a bat. Sludge, slimy sludge, whispered a mummy. Claws, claws, and more claws, rattled a skeleton. Colored flies, hot and sweet, snarled a goblin. Yuck. Piff, poof, hypnotizing, murmured Naggy Witch, mixing and stirring, mixing and stirring. Wrinkled fingers, old toenails, howled a werewolf. Dead leaves, cobwebs, and the wrinkliest of prunes, sneered a vampire. Even Naggy Witch had to gasp. There's some interesting ingredients. Yeah. Now the crowd was growing hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. Bone soup? Soup from a bone? This better not be a trick, growled the monster. He was feeling particularly fierce and quite hungry just then. I'll take back that eye, warned the ghost. And the crackly tail, grumbled the ghoul. I won't hang around much longer, sneered the bat. I'll use powers of my own, scowled the goblin. Let's wrap this up now, mumbled the mummy. Don't rattle me further, clattered the skeleton. Ooh, let's go, howled the werewolf. Before it's too late, snarled the vampire, baring his fangs. Everybody's hungry. Bone soup, soup from a bone, they whispered. Bone soup, soup from a bone, they chanted. Bone soup, soup from a bone, they roared. Wait, I know what it needs, called a small voice. You do? Asked Naggy Witch. 3 taps of your wand, Scraggy Witch, said the little monster. Tap, tap, tap. 2 spins of your broom, Craggy Witch. Whirl, whirl. And 1 wave of your cape, Naggy Witch, if you please. Whoosh. Naggy Witch waved her cape over the bubbling brew. Then she mixed and she stirred and took 1 more taste. Piff, poof, imagine that, Naggy Witch cackled gleefully. Bone soup and it's ready at last. Trick or treat, called Naggy Witch. We've something unusually good to eat. I love these illustrations. And as a full moon rose in the sky, the 3 witches filled a steaming bowl of bone soup for all. It was made with ingredients tried and true, and some monstrously new. The soup was scary, spooky, eerie, bewitching, bedazzling, hypnotizing, and spellbinding. But most of all, piff poof, it was bone-chillingly delicious. Oh, and then on the back here, it gives you the ingredients to bone soup. I don't know how many of these ingredients I would have in my kitchen, but it would be fun to attempt to make some bone soup. Let's see what they have in here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, it's actually okay. They would, so instead of claws, you would use garlic. Instead of a lizard's tail, you would use celery. Instead of wrinkled fingers, you would use carrots. Instead of green sludge, you would use tomatoes. And instead of earthworms, you would use pasta. So I'm going to see if I can let you zoom in here for a minute. And if you wanted to pause and zoom in, you could see the ingredients at the top and then the step-by-step process to make bone soup at the bottom. That would be fun. I might have to write that down and give it a try. We will see. Alrighty, before I end this, let me ask you a couple questions. First, who were some of the characters in that story? There were a couple. So if you could think back, I could think of about 5 right now, at least. So I would ask you to think of 3. And then put those names in your head. If you need to rewatch the story, you can. Here's a tricky one for this story. What was the setting of the story? This one you might have to go back and look at some of the pictures to get a better idea. It doesn't say right out there in the story where they are, but you might be able to get an idea with some of the pictures. And also, if you were to tell little brother, little sister about this story in 1 or 2 sentences, the main idea, how would you explain the story? What is the big theme of this story? I guess you could say the main idea. So just think about some of those questions before you take the quiz. Again, don't forget to select that somebody read the story to you. I'll hold up the title, Bone Soup. Here's the number one more time, 124249. Go ahead and rewatch it if you would like to ensure that you do well on your quiz. Alrighty, I hope you enjoyed this story. I will see you all later for some high frequency word practice.